Hey everyone! Before we dive in, we want to give a big shout out to TACA, the Arts Community Alliance, and Moody Fund for the Arts. This season of Dance Behind the Screen podcast is powered in part by their support. Because of them, you're getting free episodes wherever you listen, full video interviews on YouTube, and our amazing guests receive an artist stipend. If you love what we do and want to support the work, head over to knowvoxdance.com. All right, let's get into it.
No Box Dance presents Dance Behind the Screen, process production, and social media. Don't forget, say no to the box. Dile no a la caja. 고정관념 미래 상자에서 벗어나세요.
Welcome to Dance Behind the Screen podcast, where dance, technology, and creativity converge. I'm your host, Martheya, and today's episode is titled Beyond the Frame, a conversation with none other than RUBBERBAND Artistic Director, Victor Quijada. Victor is a choreographer, performer, educator, and visionary founder of RUBBERBAND. Since establishing the company in 2002, Victor has developed a genre-defying movement language known as the RUBBERBAND Method, blending hip-hop, ballet, and contemporary dance with cinematic precision. Victor, welcome to the show. We're really honored to have you here with us today.
Thank you for having me, Martheya. Great to meet you and great to be here.
All right, let's dive in to how your choreographic vision intersects with leadership, innovation, and the future of dance. As I said in the intro, your work fuses hip-hop, ballet, and contemporary dance in truly groundbreaking ways. And I'm wondering, how did you get here? Alongside the shifts of technology and culture, how did you create this movement form, this movement language?
Yeah. I think just right off the bat, hip hop and ballet and how does that all come together? And what are you talking about? What exactly are you talking about? So I should clarify that what I'm talking about is my experience in street dance and in hip hop culture, my experience in ballet and in the concert dance world, my experience with and in the film genre making and creating and being part of that. So maybe that will help a little bit get us away from that I'm mixing hip hop steps with ballet steps. I'm mixing my experience in hip hop culture with my experience in concert dance culture. So maybe less about cutting and pasting and more about letting my own personal life story cross-pollinate each other and give life to something that is unique and greater than the parts. And it's like the sum of all those parts. How did that come about? I'm born in 1976. In 1983, I was 7 years old, and there was a wave of new energy, new sound, new movement, new fashion, new visual components, and new art. It's that first wave of hip hop culture that took over my neighborhood. And that seeing that and feeling that and seeing that around me in my neighborhood, but also on TV, on music videos, on films, at that time, I'm a little bit older than you, I think. And if you weren't there in 1983, 1984, 1985, you could not turn on the TV and not see breaking or popping or some part of the hip hop culture splashed in everything from advertisement to films and, of course, popular music. And that swept me off my feet and somehow was a very empowering subculture. At the time, it was a subculture. But seeing, even in those very early days in 1983, seeing kids on these music videos that like look like me and my friends, Black and Latino kids that are doing these incredible, crazy moves that it's just, yes, that this is our language. this is a powerful way to express yourself. And as that first era of breaking and popping in the United States, at least, died down in popularity out of mainstream visibility, there were other hip hop culture remained through rap music and through graffiti and through fashion and through dance. The dance styles emerged and transformed and changed with the music styles. And so I started as a young baby breaker, and then the middle school dances of the MC Hammers and the Kid and Plays and the Big Daddy Kane's dancers and just all these dance styles that were happening in the late 80s. I was part of that. And in the 90s, it transformed again into something that was very unique, especially in Los Angeles, where I was born and raised, a freestyle approach to responding to sound and like really based on creativity, originality, showing us something you haven't seen before. And that was what luck of the draw. I was born in a certain time. And so if I had been born 30 years earlier, maybe it would have been rock and roll. If I had been born 15 years earlier, maybe it would have been punk rock. I was born in 76, so it was hip hop culture. And that brought me closer than I had ever been to feeling like an artist. And as an adolescent, in my last 2 years of high school, I went to an arts high school in Los Angeles. And that further led me to be exposed to this other world of art and artistic movements of the past 100 years. And from in the music and in visual arts and in writing and in dance, and kind of learning about Baroque and classical and romantic periods, and learning about dissonance, and learning about how jazz and blues and jazz and rock and roll and punk rock, and it somehow contextualized this artistic timeline, and not just music, but also Renaissance and Impressionism and Cubism and Surrealism and minimalism and abstraction. That all contextualize this hip hop culture experience. Okay, this is in a long line of many artistic practices and movements. I had been saying since I'm 7 years old, hip hop is an art form. I'm a hip hop artist, but I didn't have hip hop artistic studies. I couldn't contextualize where hip hop was on this timeline. But at that arts high school, it began to push me to question you as a hip hopper, us as a hip hop generation. What are we going to bring to this timeline of artistic movements? So it just gave me a meta kind of outlook.
Broad perspective.
Yeah.
I want to dig in a little bit more.
Yeah.
And tie it to Rubber Band, because I think for me, say as an emerging artist, Rubber Band is truly inspiring but uniquely identifiable company. And I think it'd be really cool for our listeners to understand, how did you get to that point? So we've talked about your childhood and like understanding you in relationship to the hip hop community, in relationship to dance in a larger sense. But what I really would love to know is basically like, how did you conceptualize Rubber Band and then make it what it is today? Did you have a plan in place? And I ask this because one of our themes this season is about strategic planning and technology. And recently for No Box Dance, we're a fairly new organization. We just started in 2018 and only became a nonprofit in 2021. So we created our first like really in-depth strategic plan for the next 5 years. And a lot of these findings about how to build that has been really useful for us. And we want to figure out how are other people like bringing their ideas to life, like actually making it happen. Because I think as artists, it can be really challenging and overwhelming if you're not affiliated with a larger institution or larger organization. And you created this out of nothing. And how did you do that? What was the steps? If you could try to make like a clear path for us.
I just spoke about this hip hop culture that nurtured in me so much. So let's say that's the mother. And through hip hop, I learned about creativity, about courage, about perseverance, about you might get beat up, but like you stay down or you get up and you, in that time, hip hop culture was, it wasn't, if you go to an event and you want to dance, it's not like you sign your name up. There's a cipher, a circle, and you need to sometimes fight your way to get in and fight your way to stay in, or fight your way to get out, or fight to get out of the party. Or it was a rough and tumble time. And so I learned a lot about believing in what you have to say in that environment. When I left at the arts high school, I met my mentor, Rudy Perez, who was a postmodern pioneer. He was part of the Judson Church theater group in the 60s and was part of the birth of postmodern dance. And I became his protege, and training and performing with him and him encouraging me to train, get more technique, ballet technique, led me to get a contract with Twyla Tharp that took me from Los Angeles to New York. And so I'm working with this iconic American choreographer and learning on the job. I didn't go to a university to learn how to dance or to choreograph. I was in the studio with one of America's last century's great and this century's most iconic choreographers. So I'm just watching and learning etiquette and going from, after a few years with Twyla, going to Elliott Feld's, a more neoclassical company. And after a year there, and I was starting to choreograph, starting to show my stuff in New York. I left to Montreal. I joined a bigger ballet company, Le Grand Ballet Canadien. I was working with, doing the repertory of the European, at the time, the European masters. And so I was learning on the job and forming in my mind what I wanted to emulate and what I didn't want to emulate. And so I just explained to you how I grew up with hip hop culture, and then I segued into this other world of concert dance and neoclassical and contemporary dance and postmodern dance. And in 2002, I couldn't any longer keep these identities separate. So part of me is in the ballet studio, and then part of me is in the hip hop events in the late evening and early morning. And then the daytime, I'm a ballet dancer, and the nighttime, I'm a freestyle b-boy hip hopper. I needed to bring those things together. And 23 years ago, there were not many places that were existing that were bringing these experiences together the way that I was hoping to bring them together. Rennie Harris was a great inspiration. Doug Elkins in New York also. So there were people doing it. They were just, I couldn't find things that resonated with me the way that I wanted to do it. So RUBBERBAND became that laboratory where the part of me that knew concert dance would come together with the part of me that knew street dancing. How do you do it? What do you do? Well, you have a vision. My vision was, I didn't want to have the project that I wanted did not want to feel like a dance company, this hierarchical thing. I wanted it to feel like a crew, but I wanted it to be able to pierce through this professional concert dance world. So what kind of structure? A crew, usually a street crew, is like just family. It's just like you're there with your people, but it needed to be more than that. But I didn't want to have this hierarchical company. So just the philosophies of street dance versus the philosophies of concert dance, like they cancel each other out, or like they
Right. Yeah. So what do you do? Like, how did you like build
you
Rubber
do a
Band?
lot of trial and error, and you do a lot of failing, and you do a lot of learning. And sometimes when I hear someone read my bio or I look at the bio, I'm like, these are just the highlights, but man, you don't know all the pitfalls and the valleys and the failures that lead to, okay, you're climbing up to accomplish a goal, and it takes several tries, many tries sometimes. And yeah, I've been consistently working towards a goal. And if I get knocked down, I get back up and I continue trying to learn from the mistake and go forward. So I think you're probably wanting to get some like concrete answers of it. But the main thing is I just did it. I had colleagues that were like, you know what, I'm going to write a grant. And when I get the grant, then I was like, I'm doing it. Worry about the grants later. I'm doing it, and I'm doing it as much as I can. And it was a lot of bumps and bruising along the way, but it was just do it, and you'll learn. And if it doesn't work, then figure out what didn't work. And a lot of trial and error, a lot of experimentation, and not being afraid to fail. And I don't know if that all comes from hip hop culture. My parents, they're Mexican immigrants, and it's, you don't call in sick, you go, you do it. And so there's a work ethic that I have from them. There's I don't want to say fearlessness that I have from hip hop. It's are you willing to die for what you believe in? Yeah. What's important to you, and how important is it? All right, then get to it. Then roll your sleeves up and go for it. And
you are listening to Now Box Dance.
There's a couple points that I want to dive a little deeper on that I think would be useful for our audience. The first is, how did you identify what it is that you believe in and communicate that clearly to other people?
Yeah. The company's been around for 23 years, and now I find myself in a place where I'm comparatively to when I was in it. If there was a hole to be dug, I was digging it, and I'm there. When you get tired, I'm still digging. So as soon as you can, catch your breath, dig with me. It was my example. It was like, this is, if you don't know what it is, here's my sweat, my blood, my tears. This is it. This is what it is. And so the flavor came from me not asking others to do it for me. I'm doing it. I'm doing it, and I do need help, but I'm going to do it whether I'm getting help or not. And luckily, thankfully, gratefully, there were people there that wanted to help and would help and did help.
And how do you think you got those people involved? One thing that we're really interested in, especially as a younger nonprofit organization, is we've been a kind of a volunteer-based team for the past several years, and it's time to expand and bring some new people in. How do you find the right people?
For sure, there's profiles that you're looking for. Oh, I need somebody who'd be really good at that, or what the team is missing right now is this. And there's so many different roles that people can play. They could be like the heavy lifter, they could be the cheerleader, they could be the problem identifier and the solution brainstormer. There's so many different roles in a team. For me, it's super important that people absolutely want to be here. So it could be tricky because people, I'm talking about dancers specifically, people have their guards up. They don't want to be vulnerable and they want to be like cool and calm and collected. And I get it. And then I'm like, okay, do you really want to be here? But I need to get over that and be like, hey, they're here for it. So they don't have to, I don't need them to be desperate. It's all good. And I think that's changed in the generations since I was a young person, like where I gotta get it. I have to get this job or whatever. And then, but back to like, how do you get people to come along? If you're a filmmaker, if you're a choreographer, if you're a beat maker, if you're a musician, if you're a visual artist, I think in my experience tells me, do it. When we talk about proof of concept, how do you know it's going? You have an idea. Okay, great. What is it going to look like? How do you sell me on that idea? I've already done it. Like, this is it. It's a rudimentary version, but this is it. And if just give me some time, a studio space just give me 10 hours this week. And this is what I'm working on. And I show you it. And this is the video of it, or these are the 5 different videos. Like, it's in there. I am cooking and these are the ingredients. And this is, it's, I think when I am on the side of buying in on someone's idea, it's like, how convinced are they of it? And how passionate are they? And how infectious is their passion and their energy about what they're working on? And how do they speak about it? Now, this is a tricky thing in my experience. I remember being in a point in time where like I didn't want to talk about my ideas. Every time like I had something in my mind, and just saying it like, oh, I'm going to scare the idea away, or the idea is so potent in my brain, saying it will belittle it or sell it too short. Or it's not that there's no word. I couldn't so I wouldn't dare describe it. I just be like, you know what? Give me a chance or don't. I'm doing this thing, and I'm doing it. I got to do this thing.
I think that's so relatable, especially in this kind of digital age that we're in. Sometimes it can feel paralyzing to actually execute your ideas, especially like when you're looking at the comparison of everybody else online. They just everyone seems like an expert, right? And everything is perfect.
That's a dangerous place to be, the comparison part. I'm not a compare. What's the difference between comparison and referencing, or seeing what's there and being motivated to, you know what? I need to bring my A+ game. If that's what's there, ooh, okay. So what do I need to do to? But comparing, I don't know. There's a positive and a negative way to do that. Comparing. There's a realistic thing of, okay, that's the level. This is where I'm at. What am I missing? All right, let me get to it.
And I'd love to hear how you negotiate that. At No Box Dance, we're really interested in how we're using technology as a tool for the embodied experience. So to enhance, not necessarily take away. But I'm wondering, like, how are you staying true to Rubber Band's artistic identity while also adapting to new digital trends and meeting like audiences' expectations? I think that's like a real challenge, especially right now, to compete with Netflix and people wanting to stay at home and not spend the money to go out. What are your thoughts around that, and how are you staying true to your artistic identity?
Yeah. There's a couple things that you said. Some of the things that stand out for me are the experience. Something, and this is for a long time, since I started the company. One of the experiential observational differences between the hip hop culture and the world that I grew up in of street dance and the concert dance world that I came into as a professional, young professional, was the delivery system. In the concert dance world, for the most part, there's a stage where the action happens, and then there are 200, 300, 500, 1,200 seats where people sit down and watch and observe. And in the street dance world, it's a spot, it's a space, and there's 100 people, 200 people in that room, and if there's going to be a circle, somebody has to open it. And if you are part of that circle, you are the observer waiting to be the participant. And even if you don't want to participate, you're getting knocked up and pushed around. And so this is a very different way to experience an event than the concert dance world. And this is this cross pollination that, when I first started Rubber Band, I had this rejection to the theater space. I did not want to show in the theater space. I wanted to go into alternative spaces, outdoor guerrilla style, go into the metro, have a choreographic situation happen, go to a club, freestyle, and then we transform into this choreographic thing that changes the whole environment around us. And we just wanted to make something happen in an observer's vicinity and change reality for a second. And that led to a lot of different experiments. And then there was invitations to show work inside venues, more traditional venues. And then there's tools inside of a theater that could enhance this. But how do you break that fourth wall and the observer and the performer relationship? And what can we do? And that led to a lot of different, okay, how do I break that and the expectations and I had collaborators that were just super on board with what is the psychology of the expectations of an audience member when they sit down in the seat versus when you break or you make them involved in this. So that's part of this interest that I've been attacking, chipping away at very different ways from piece to piece. Some pieces we cannot do that. That's not the intent. But in other pieces, this is what we're going to do. And we're going to do away with the seats and have the people in the space. And there's been different eras where it's been more prominent focus for me, less prominent focus for me.
Create, discuss, and advocate for art. No box dance.
What led you to wanting to create a dance film ever so slightly? Was it because of COVID and kind of the limitations around being, together in person? Yeah. Or was there something else that you just felt like these ideas could be really present and engage the audience in a different kind of experience through a cinematic lens?
Yeah. Ever so slightly is not the first film project that I've been involved with. There's been a lot of different film projects that the company has produced, that I've directed, that I've co-directed, that I've project outside of the company where I've been a choreographer or a movement director or creative collaborator. Ever so slightly is coming in a long line of different film projects and different experimentations on screen, dance on film. I think one of the first things that I felt as a young maker, especially dance on screen, was being interested in theater and film there is something that happens in narrative film where the over the shoulder shots or like the close-ups or that in dance films often they were not using that. Like it's just a wide shot and we get the whole dance. And I was very, as a choreographer, I was very hungry to explore a theatrical aspect of dance, the way that I knew theater as an actor, the way that like dance could become, movement could take the place of spoken word, but the relationships and a narrative that could develop could still be there, even if there weren't words. And so there's a different way to film that. Filming movement with a wide shot, that's one thing, but using the camera to follow a character's development and their realizations and their wants and needs, especially in the face of another character that they have a relationship with and giving color to that relationship, it's a different use of the camera and a different use of the choreographic lens that I was using. So I think this is one of the focuses that I've had, is how to not just shoot movement, but how to develop a storyline through the camera when movement is the main language, but it's not just for movement's sake.
Don't forget to say no to the box.
What are your thoughts or advice you might have to our listeners on creating that sensibility when it comes to marketing your works? So creating content that you're then sharing online.
Yeah, well, I think now we're in a different era that I would be looking to your listeners. I would be looking to the alpha generation and like the millennials after me, because whatever me and my generation have been involved with as far as marketing and branding and advertising, like we're in another era where that is like on steroids to the max. Each person is their own marketing machine and branding system. And to be honest, I feel like it's an exercise for me to try to really keep up with that. And so now I have a team that helps to help Rubberband as the institution go forward. But what people are being born into now is where each individual is their own brand. And I don't know if I have a lot of advice in that realm. I think any advice, I'm always worried about giving advice, but anything that I could share would be about my experience. And I don't know if I'm the strongest to talk about this generation's plight with social media and the immediacy and the urgency of making content and posting content and keeping relevant. And I think it's a different arena. It's a different era for sure. But I can imagine it could be quite anxiety building to, I need to make content. I need to, and there are gurus that talk about that. And I'm looking to them to, okay, so yeah.
I think that's such a great point, because that's another person to bring into your circle, your team, your community, because I think one thing that's really challenging, especially I guess more as like an independent artist, is it's okay, yeah, you have the grind, you can wear all these hats, but at what point is it time to trust somebody else with kind of their expertise?
Absolutely. And I come from this cruel mentality where, you get a crew together. What is a crew? a crew is a dream team, and you get a team of people that like you share your dreams with, and like, you know what, we're going to make that happen. Okay, I'm good at this, and I will do anything to help you get your thing to the next level. Oh, you're good at that. I'm not a good photographer. I have an idea for what the image could be, but I need a technician, somebody that has the gear, knows the gear, has the information, knows that can help me manifest that. And so, yeah, now everything is just, you can't outsource anything. It seems like everybody's insourcing all their stuff, and like they do from A to Z. You have to be the editor, you have to be the photographer, you have to be the,
like your whole brand. Like you said, every individual essentially, it feels like the pressure to be your own brand.
I'm from the old school where like you collaborate with people and you do wear different hats. You do wear several hats, but you also look for the people that have the expertise or have the intuition or have just the natural taste for, you know what? I hear what you're saying. You know what would be a great vehicle? That. Yes, of course. I didn't think about that, but you did. And now it's going to blow up.
How do you personally say no to the box and yes to the future of dance?
Wow. Yeah. What is the box? I think I was just rereading I'm I keep on saying I'm in the prelude to a new creation.
Oh, I love that.
And part of that is being very observant to ideas that come and not letting any one idea come without being grateful for it and writing it down and saying thank you for that. Part of it is also like looking back at some notes. And I was I was writing about the box and about getting out of the box and how to destroy the box and how to disintegrate the box. But it's all in reference to a box. That's our starting point. When we talk about bending the rules or breaking the rules, but it's all in reference to the rule book. It's all in reference to something that's already been happening. And that's the starting point. But which box are you looking at? Are you looking at your box? Are you looking at that box? Are you looking at the box? What is the box? There are certain things. There's like the current box of trends, or your box of paths you've already taken. So that's an extensive analysis. That's an extensive investigation at what do you think, what do you know, what have you known, what do you not know, what do you want to know, where do you want to go? And how do I say no to the box? By saying, one part of it is I'm saying yes to anything that comes to me. And then I will put my attention to a certain problem or solution that I'm looking for, and then I'm open to receive. And then it's everything that comes through my mind. That might be like an intense period of writing, or that might just be like, I did the writing and now I just keep open for that. How do I say no to the box? There's this rubber band method thing that developed as a way to prepare new dancers coming into the company so that they could execute the choreographic language that was making up works that I had created. Then is like, all right, this is a vocabulary and a technique. And we got to a point in 2018 where I was like, well, that can become its own mausoleum, and we can die and asphyxiate in this. This is what we do, and these are the movements that we do, and this is the vocabulary that we use. And it was like, all right, I work with a dramaturg named Matthew LaRue, and he's a writer. And so he goes through these processes of writing a book, and then in the next sit down phase, you question, once you've done enough stuff, you're like, okay, I don't want to repeat myself. Or what did I do? What haven't I done? And one of the kind of exercises he shared with me was, okay, what are the 5 things that you always, what are the 5 words or vocabulary words that you always use? Okay, that. In this next process, do not use any of them. Okay,
Oh, that's so cool.
What is the 5 compositional things that you always use? Exits, entrances, what are they? Okay, you list them, don't do them. Just stay away from those, are banned. It forces you, puts parameters. So
it builds that box to say no to.
it builds a box for you to fight against and to disintegrate, but it's in reference to a box, and your parameters are good. Mm-hmm. Parameters that force you to break parameters that are already there are good.
Flash 4.
We have our last segment, which is called Flash 4, where we ask all our guests to answer 4 questions in a flash. So as fast as possible. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go. If you had to recommend a resource to our audience, what would it be? It could be a book, a podcast, website, YouTube channel, other than your own.
Let's see. As fast as I can, I would say there are so many resources, but I'm a big believer in being aware of your inner dialogue and how it can help or hinder you in manifesting your goals and your dreams. And there's so many resources out there about ideas on how to accomplish your dreams, how to take a dream and transform it into a goal, and how to go about moving towards that. And that's very technical, mechanical, lists and to-dos, and how you schedule this long-term goal over the next days, weeks, months, years. And then it's also metaphysical, universal laws of expectation and laws of attraction and all these more metaphysical things. So there's so much out there, and I think if you really want something, I believe the universe is there to help you do it, but you need to be the most active partner in that. And negativity, interior negativity, could be a huge roadblock to that. Yeah, self-awareness and writing. Writing would probably be my number 1. If you're not doing it, you got to do it. Too much noise in here. It's too much, too many like board members in there fighting. So you need to
Too many voices.
Get it out if you're not doing it.
What was the first dance you saw?
It might have been the first. I'm thinking about Beat Street and about Breakin', the movies, and seeing Boogaloo Shrimp and Shabadoo. In the movie, it was Turbo and Ozone, or seeing the Rocksteady Crew. In the movie, they weren't called Rocksteady Crew. But seeing these, that's what I would consider the first dances set. I saw a lot of dancing as a little kid in Mexico at the weddings, but the first significant, impactful thing I think would be on film with these movies like Beat Street. And yeah, I think that's most impactful.
Do you think social media has a positive influence on the dance world? Yes or no?
Doesn't matter. Yes, I'll say yes because we cannot go backwards. We're going forward, and you have to see the positive in it. Yes.
What's your favorite social media platform?
Probably YouTube.
Victor, thank you so much for taking the time to come on our show. It's been such a pleasure to hear more about the ins and outs of your journey and your artistic career. And I feel like hearing your experiences are really insightful just to remind us what's important and why are we doing the work that we're doing.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Something my good friend Natalie Galaska said to me. I always say she's my personal Rick Rubin. I've known her for over 20 years.
I love
She
that.
said, man gives awards. God gives rewards. And we're always like looking for getting recognized. And it happens often in, we were awarded or we were recognized and we got this title. But finding gratitude for all the little wins, all the little experiences, even the tough ones. Wow, I'm going to learn a lot from this one. Gratitude. Gratitude is an amazing force.
I'm certainly grateful for you and for the time that you've spent with us on today's show. And how can our listeners stay connected with you and Rubber Band?
Yeah. Old school website, Rubber Band Dance, rbdg.ca, and our Instagram and our Facebook, of course. And yeah, you can find a calendar on the website of where we're performing. And if you ever want to come and train with us in the Rubber Band Method, we do a summer intensive and a winter intensive.
Amazing. And we'll link all that out in the show notes. And Victor, thanks again. And to our listeners, as always, stay connected with us at KNOW-VOX Dance and keep dancing behind the screen. Thank you.
Thanks, Martheya.
Thanks for tuning in to Dance Behind the Screen podcast. Keep dancing, keep innovating. See you next time.
Thanks for taking your time to tune in to Dance Behind the Screen, a bi-monthly interview series where we go behind the screen to question process, product, and social media. Be sure to follow us on social media at KNOW Box Dance. See you next time and don't forget to say no to the box.